going to be able to change my life? Would they know that I had a heart attack? Would they know that my business is struggling? Would they know that I need to meet that person at JLR? Would they know? You have to ask yourself these things. And sometimes it's not just about what's actually coming in, it's about what's going out. It's cutting those people out, because Anthony Robbins says that if you lie with dogs, you get fleas. So unless they're the fleas that you want to be catching, you shouldn't be laying with those dogs. You need to move on. You need to take a step away and look at the people you're supposed to be emulating. Because they also did, we've done a study, and Anthony Robbins done a study, and quite a few other people, that your income is 10% higher or lower than the average income of the people that you hang out with. So if you're hanging out with people that are earning 50,000 pounds, or their businesses are turning over £1 million, then your business will probably be turning over 1.1 or 0.9 million pounds. You will emulate the people that you hang around. And it's just because you get into that, whether it's your golf foursome, you start to be like them. When, it's scary, almost married nearly 20 years, we leave the house dressed the same, even though you're not meaning to. Got my black jacket on, my skirt, Michelle does too, but we're leaving the house, and it's like, you just start to emulate the people that you're around. And sometimes it's a great thing, like being like you. But sometimes it's like, why am I doing this? Why does it keep on happening? Because it's easy and you can't get away from it. So sometimes it's about cutting those people free. So I just asked Mark how many people he had involved in his network. I want everybody, there's a sheet in front of you that'll be your cheat sheet later on, but it's an A3, so it'll take up lots of space. I want you to write down on the back of it the number of people that you think you have in your network. If it's LinkedIn, it's really easy because it's there. If you don't do a lot of networking, it could be 20 people because they're your providers. It could be anything like that. So there should be, if you need another one, I've got it up here. But you're not getting out of here for free. Everybody's got to do a little bit of work. Does anybody need any more? Need a pen? Okay, so I want you to write down how many people you have. If you measure it on Facebook, whether you measure it on LinkedIn, measure how many people you think you have in your network. And Roland, you're about 800 at least, because that's what you were the other day on your network. On the back of it, just write it down. It's a blank sheet of paper on the back. The front, we're going to work through in a little while. But just write down that number. Now write down below that how many referrals you had and we'll give it 2 months just because sometimes months are slow. And the referrals that you've had in the last 2 months, just write that down. Nope, just from anybody. Just from anybody, so that's a great question. Write down the number of referrals that you've had. In when? The last 2 months. Okay. So how are we going to measure it now? So keep your hands up if you have more than five referrals. Okay. More than 4 referrals. More than 3. Keep your hands up if you've got the 5. So keep your hands up. So 3. More than 2. Okay. More than 2. That's good. Okay. So if you had your hands up, so anybody in here have more than 500 contacts? Raise your hand if you have more than 500 contacts. LinkedIn, Facebook, Friends at the Golf Club, wherever it is, you have more than 500. So you have 500 people. You have to ask yourself this. If you're measuring it, you put your hands down. You have to look at it and say, I've got 500, I've got 800, I've got 1,000 people in my network, and I've had 1 referral or 2 referrals. So in a relationship, there's usually 2 people, and sometimes we think it's them, but usually it's us. So you've got to figure out, what am I doing right or what am I doing wrong that I'm not getting the type of referrals or the number of referrals that I need to have business. So I've put this out in front of you, and this is the map. This map is on the website. That's bartdaltonconsulting.com. But it's there for you. I printed it out in A3 because I like people to have things that they can write in. So in the book, there's worksheets, and you can write in the workbook. It's a size where you can write on it. Yeah. I've got more for you, but I like people to write, because if you write down and you put things out in front of you, and we'll talk about this later, the more stuff you write down and put in front of you, the more you'll realize that if you have 1,000 people in your network and you've received one referral, you're either you're not asking the right way, or you don't have the right people in your referral network. So how do you measure it? We're going to talk about the power players. And the power players, and I came up and I was looking at this, and in the U.S., we have our David Attenborough, and his name was Carl Sagan. And Carl Sagan, I remember back in the 80s, used to come on, and as he'd enter into this planetary exploration, and this was way before 3D rendering and all this, and he'd say, the universe is comprised of billions and billions of stars. The world is made up of billions and billions of people. You have access to them through social media, through your Facebook, through your LinkedIn, through contacts. And Jude and I were talking earlier that he's used BNI, and he's met people in the States, he's met people in Dubai, he's met people everywhere else. So there's other ways to access these networks. But I had to go through and figure out how to make sure that I was putting together a story that was good enough, that was compelling enough that people could assimilate with and they would understand. So I came up with the idea around the planets. And everybody, and I've been called narcissistic before, and I'm the center of my universe. And the only reason I can make the people around me's lives better is if my center of the universe is flowing properly. So I need to make sure I understand me. And so everything that happens from here on out, and on your piece of paper, it works from left to right. It starts with you. Because if you don't have you right, if you're not right in the head, if you have a scarcity mentality of, I need to sell something today, and if you don't have an abundance mentality of, I can do this, or I can't do that. I don't need to have this bit of business. I don't need it that bad where I need to take it in today. I can think about it. So you sit back, and it all starts with you and how you're going out and giving your story. So if everybody draws a circle on the back of their map, there are 3 tools that we have, and the circle is you and your entire time that you have in your day, in your week, in your year. So on that, there are 3 pieces. First one's energy. Energy is, you wake up in the morning, you only have so much energy to make it through the day. You'll have a breakfast, you'll figure out what you're going to do that day, you're going to power yourself up, you might meet somebody that you like, and you might say, hey, I had a great meeting with Roland, now I'm up again. Then I'm down again, then I'm up again, then I'm down again. You only have so much energy. You get boosted by food, you get boosted by people, you get boosted, but you got to keep your energy at a high level. Then the thing we can never buy back, people say there's not enough time in the day. There is enough time in the day if you know what you're doing. So time comes in when you can focus what you do. If you can focus what you're thinking about at that point in time, whether that's Gary going for big retail jewelers instead of just going for every guy on the street in the jewelry quarter, whether that's Rachel going for tier 1 auto manufacturers and working with them versus just going with very small manufacturers that are all over the Midlands, which are great. Or it's Jeremy, because we talked about this last time, is Jeremy's business is recruitment for lower level staff at accountancy firms, solicitors firms, and then Jeremy started going, and engineering firms and anybody else, which is great, but as soon as he starts going like that, and I asked Paul Cadman, and I said, well, I've got some wealth management products, who do you know that I could give those to? Paul's going to think of all 1,300 people, or at least 200 people that are in his Rolodex. But if I said, Paul, do you know somebody that has a £3 million turnover that's got one son coming into the business, one son that wants to get out of the business, because I could help that family with their financial plans? He would actually have somebody that he had in his mind. But if I just say, JR, who do you know? It goes away. So that focus really takes us back to it. And if you take that circle, when you look at it and you start to get down, and so if Jeremy took that, and you could all do this for me, if you have 3 parts of it, What I want you to do is